Pocan.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Madam Secretary, for being with us. Sorry,
Thank you.
I'm almost out of breath a little bit. I was running between.
Back and
because
forth.
They're like, Clyde's halfway through. So I'm trying to get here in time
Thank
to
you,
make sure we
Congressman.
kept it going. Glad to see you in the position because we do appreciate, you had many pro-worker votes when you were in Congress, and that provides me some comfort knowing you're there. However, the president's budget does provide me some anxiety when I see a $1 billion cut and there's no real details in the skinny budget. Specifically, I guess the two questions I'd love to have some reassurances from you around OSHA and the wage and hour division on cuts, because I think those are two of the divisions, as you well know, support workers the most. And I want to make sure that, because we don't have the details, that you can maybe give us a little insight on what you might see happening in those two areas.
Yeah, thank you again for the question. And certainly, one, to fulfill the mission of the Department of Labor is going to be, it's the first and foremost, that's my job today. Different than as a congresswoman representing Oregon. But you are correct. The direction of the president when he nominated me and now as a Secretary of Labor is to work with all sides of the aisle and work with labor and business to come together to how we're going to best protect the American worker. So that being said, on the OSHA and or MSHA, the safety of the American worker also is first and foremost, not only under their agencies, but no worker should expect to go to work and not come home safe and sound. It is going to be my goal under those that no cuts are going to be directed, that have to statutorily, when we're out visiting the sites, that we have our investigators on site because we want to protect the American worker. So that will be my focus. And I will continue down that road. As we streamline and modernize, oftentimes it does get conflated, and it's hard to understand that you would make a cut, then you can't do the job. I don't agree with that always. More money doesn't always mean the best outcome, but we are going to do everything we can to fulfill the mandate of the Department of Labor and not let any American worker down, and we will keep them safe.
And again, I just really want to stress around OSHA, especially, and wage and hour division,
OSHA
those two.
And wage and hour, again, when you're talking about protecting minimum wage, we're talking about overtime pay, that
Wage
people get
theft, all the
wage
stuff that's
all
out there.
those things that the American worker deserves will be first and focus on my department and my agency to focus on.
Yeah, I know you as the member of Congress would be doing that. I hope you as the secretary can still do that and help influence if there are, in case another billionaire comes into the administration to start playing with things, your expertise would be much appreciated in that area. One of the other questions was, because of the cuts, the Job Corps program, I guess it's come up from a couple folks. I come from the perspective, I think, where maybe Mr. Fleischman was coming as well, like it's an important program, right? Because it does have that pipeline.
That's right.
I'm hoping that with the Make America Skilled Again initiative, how will that program make up for the job training resources that we provide to our youth and seniors in the soon-to-be eliminated DOL programs, and what can we expect? Can you assure us that these organizations will have access to the same skilled candidate pool if Job Corps is dismantled?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I was just visiting with the carpenters, and there were Job Corps students in their trade skills program, in their apprenticeship program. So my goal on the apprenticeship of the 1 million apprentices, along with the president, is to first and foremost focus that pipeline, because that's the market-driven economy that we've been seeing and asking for. And if Job Corps is not working, if it's not serving that population that we're promising to serve, then I want to make sure we serve that population through a different avenue. What that looks like, I'm not exactly sure at this moment because there's been no decisions made. But there are approximately 20,000 students that we're serving. I need to know that they are in a place that they can have the skills that they need along with the rest of America. And so making America skilled again, that block grant, we want to focus on all populations to make sure men and women are being served, and that is going to include that same population.
And hopefully we
Job
keep
Corps.
the same focus on registered apprenticeships too as being the platinum standard sort of out there. I spent 35 years as a signed contractor with IUPAT.
Sure.
I'm a union member. I myself was a member as well during all that time period. And, those programs really are in many ways heads and tails above other type programs out there. I know you know that from your experience. So just if we can keep that focus as well. Last thing, I think, because I only have 22 seconds, I want to ask the question, but I just raised the concern that when the president signed an executive order taking away bargaining rights from 75% of the federal workforce, it reminded me of what Scott Walker did in my state in Wisconsin, and that caused all sorts of problems that we're still dealing with well over a decade later. I believe those workers have collective bargaining rights. I believe that you believe that, but I hope that we can do more in this area because I'm concerned that already watching the cuts from Elon Musk, the Doge Commission, this is just one more attack on workers. And at some point, we do need people to work for the federal government. So
Thank
thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure.